Mankind has been given an incredible gift. Gift that I would say is right up there with life itself. Most of us don't even realize or spend enough time appreciating this amazing gift. We're so busy in the pursuit of money, status, just everyday living that we miss out on life's more delicate side. The ability to not only create art, but to appreciate it is something far beyond what we can teach our smartest artificially intelligent machines and computers. Art opens the mind, it inspires the soul, it makes us see things that are currently impossible to physically manifest. It pushes the boundaries of creativity, the boundaries of human thought. In nature, art is everywhere. If we had the ability to slow down time, how amazing would falling snow look? Or the beating wings of a hummingbird. Without the expressive medium of art, how far would humanity have really progressed in, say, the last 1, 2, or even 3,000 years? I mean, think of it. The Golden Gate Bridge, cruise ships, the space shuttle, even the very homes that we live in were all conceived by people who thought beyond what was currently available. They expressed their unique vision, their unique style. You talk to anyone that has truly created something from scratch, and they tell you that there's always something of them in what they created. The good thing about art is, believe it or not, everyone's an expert. Just take a nice nature scene for a minute. 5 different people can look at that one scene, and that one scene can affect those people in 5 different ways. I mean, what else can do that? In the end, all you can say is, that's art.
minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff.
When we talk about art in general, I think what comes to mind for most people is canvas art. From the earliest times of hieroglyphics and wall paintings, humans have been fascinated by the stories told using this art form. The popularity of using canvas as a medium for painting really started in the 14th century. A French Madonna with angels painted around 1410 AD is one of the earliest oil paintings we have around today. There's a very good reason why this style of art has lasted so long. I think what makes this art discipline so appealing is that it takes you inside the mind of the artist, and it lets you see life through their eyes. It gives you an opportunity to feel what they felt and to see the world as they saw it, not necessarily as it was, but how they perceived and processed the world they were in. When you look at a piece of canvas art, you think to yourself, what were they trying to say? What's happening when they painted this? Or what feelings were they trying to express? I think it's that struggle, the struggle to find those answers that makes it so polarizing. We've all seen those shows where you have a room full of art critics, and they are all sharing their opinions of what they think the artist meant when he or she painted a particular piece. And many times they don't even know each other outside of the room. But this painting, this piece of work, brought them all together. That's how powerful canvas art can be on the human condition. It can take different people who otherwise have nothing in common, no reason to talk to each other, and then give them something to talk about. Today, many people can paint on canvas, certainly far more than could back in the 14th century. But so few can actually express themselves using this art form. That's what separates artists from painters. You can't teach canvas expression. It has to come from deep within, from a source so deep that it can only be expressed through art. And with just simple variations in brush strokes, a distinction can be made between the talented and and the gifted, between expression and obligation. And that's why this form of art has the power to bring people together from all corners of the earth. You look at the ancient pyramids. To some at first glance, it may not look like much. I mean, let's be honest. To some, it's just basically a three-dimensional triangle. But the mathematics, the physics it took to move something like that from a concept to reality, that had to be done by someone or a group of people with creative minds. Because that's what we're really talking about. Creativity. Think about the challenges that they had to face. Things like the building technology of the period, and not to mention those tools that they had to build structures back then. I mean, these are certainly crude by our standards. Yet, look at the structures that they were able to build. There's no way you can convince me that creative people weren't the brains behind those projects. People who saw architecture not just as a job, but as an art form, even if they didn't call it that back then. Architectural structures are some of the most awe-inspiring art disciplines that I've ever seen. Let's talk about St. Paul's Cathedral in London for a minute. A massive structure that was constructed in 1675 and was completed in 1710 AD. That's 35 years of blood, sweat, and tears. But look at the final result. Look at the details that are found in this building. Clearly, that was the artistic vision of the man who designed it, Christopher Wren. Today we have structures that are equally impressive in their own right, showing the creative and the artistic talent of their visionary creators. Every time I see these types of buildings, I wonder what must have gone into designing such a structure. What is it, that goes through their minds? How do they come up with these ideas? And then all the physical challenges that they must have had to overcome. Like the weather, weight, gravity, the type of machines, etc. Just to get their projects off the ground. Some of these structures are so impressively massive that they make you put things into perspective without a single word, without a single gesture, just on the look alone. It really shows that even though mankind is guilty of doing some terrible things throughout Earth's history, that we are also capable of creating and producing works of beauty. Every year, millions upon millions of people travel all around the world just to see these architectural marvels, just so that they can go back to their family and friends and say, hey, I was there. I was there. Now, if that doesn't show you the power of architectural art, I don't know what else will. I don't think many people will right away think of writing as an art form, but storytelling has been very important throughout human history. Whether it's scientific, historical, fictional, or actual, the ability to effectively express the thoughts of knowledge from one person to another, it takes skill, it takes talent. It is an art form. Before paper became cheap enough for everyone to afford, most stories were passed on by word of mouth. That's why mankind has so many myths and legends. Because the more a story gets told, it's the more it changes, with each storyteller adding or subtracting from their original account to suit how they want the story to unfold. But once mankind could write down things consistently, a particular version of a story could be kept intact for a long time. When we look at fictional writing, which most believe began in the 1170s with Frenchman Kitcherin de Troyes' story about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, we get a sense of the imaginative abilities of those types of writers. To be able to create a world in one's mind and flesh it out so that it makes sense is one thing. To be able to create a world that others can see in their minds once they read your story is another. But to be able to create a world that people can see, they can feel, they can taste and experience all of that in their minds as they're reading your story, now that's artistic. There's a real freedom that comes from self-expression through the written word. I mean, you don't even need any fancy equipment. All you need is something to write with, something to write on, and your imagination. Once you have those three elements, you literally can create anything you can imagine. A good book on a rainy day still has a lot of appeal. Getting lost in the pages of a good novel, there's still nothing like it. Once your imagination starts going, the world around you just goes silent. You know, books were the original movies, but instead of the theater and television being the screen, the mind is where things played out. And what makes the mind so much more than the theaters and or the TV? It's that the characters and the worlds that they live in will be shaped by the reader's life and experiences. No two people read the same exact novel and see the same exact things in their minds, because we all have different backgrounds and experiences that makes us perceive the world differently. But to be able to tell a story that causes anyone reading it to see and become a part of the world that you're reading about. Now, that truly is an artistic gift. I can truly say that I don't know where this world would be right now if this art form never existed, or it ceases to exist from this point on. One of the things that stands out to me about glass is its elegance, its precision, the crisp, clean, reflective nature of glass. That is very appealing to the eyes. Take your cell phone and move it so you can see the smudges on the glass. When you clean it and it's free of fingerprints and dust, that's very satisfying. We've all had experience with glass, from as early on as childhood. Whether we've looked in a mirror, or we have drank from something other than paper or plastic. We've all felt the cold, rigid, and sometimes delicate nature of the material. We've all had that physical touch, but glass blowing, that touches you in another way. even in its molten state, glass can have power over the human mind. Molten glass has a real hypnotic vibe that draws you in. You want to see more. I don't know many things that can do that. The first time I experienced glass blowing, I was taken back. First of all, the heat required to melt glass is about 1600 degrees Celsius or about 3000 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that. Now, that's some real heat. When you see these professionals in front of a furnace, rolling a metal pole back and forth, then pulling out this bright orange glowing mass, it's very mesmerizing. Then, by doing this along with other techniques, they can shape the glass into anything they want. Even what seems like a simple bowl is a complicated process. At first, I thought that this art form must be very limited, because how expressive could a person really be doing this? Boy, was I wrong. The shapes and the colors that can be melded together, it's just amazing. The only limit to what a glass blowing artist can create is what they can't think of. But there's something primal about working with that much heat and earth, something that enhances the creative and artistic mind. Even though anyone can take a class and learn the basics, it takes real skill and talent to be able to create art or express oneself through glass blowing. Because when we talk about creating art using this medium, we're talking about creating something just based on feelings and perception. Glass blowing isn't something you just wake up and decide that you're going to do. You have to be drawn to do it if you want to leave your mark. But for those of us looking on, the beauty created from glass blowing, it almost seems impossible. There is almost no activity that I can think of that can't be enhanced by a creative mind with an artistic vision. Take confectionery art. Until recently, I never really considered baking to be an art form. I mean, I guess when you eat something and it tastes good, you might say that the person who cooked this or made that is an artist with food. But no, not in the same way that other things are considered art. But then I got introduced to confectionery art, and it opened my mind as to what was possible with food. I mean, the idea of taking ordinary dough and turning it into something that doesn't even resemble anything that's traditionally made with flour and water is amazing. When I was a child, I would marvel at all the cakes and the pies and other treats that I saw at my local bakery. Not necessarily because of how they looked, but because of how I knew they would taste. I mean, I've seen people bake gingerbread houses and other things like that, but to see someone bake a bag of Dorito chips that's actually a cake, that's next level. According to food historians, we owe all of this to the ancient Egyptians, who were the first culture to actually show evidence of advanced baking skills. Then around 600 BC, the ancient Greeks began baking bread, which led to the invention of closed ovens. But to go from that to baking objects that look so real that one would never believe that they're witnessing art in action is just mind-blowing. Desserts naturally have a feeling of happiness associated with them. When you're eating a nice dessert, there is a measure of comfort in every bite. Now, mix that feeling with the flair that these unique artists bring, and you're going to get something that is beyond extraordinary, something that can only be expressed as wow. Confectionery art has certainly become and will continue to grow in popularity as time goes on. But it just goes to show you that art cannot be confined to one way of thinking or expression. In all the years that I've been alive, there are only a few things that I can say with absolute certainty. And one of them is that everyone is uniquely different. Now, I know everyone will say we're different, but that's not what I'm saying, because we are not just different, but we are different in unique ways. So what that means is that what makes me different isn't the same thing that makes you different. And nowhere is this fact more evident than the way people express themselves through the medium of art. I think art in all its forms has the ability to transform and influence us in ways we don't always see right away. It can bring people from different races, backgrounds, religions, and upbringings to talk, or at the very least appreciate a common thing. It actually shows us how our differences makes us more alike. But there's a bigger challenge that art introduces to us as human beings living on this planet that most people don't even realize. Art doesn't just challenge your understanding of creativity. It challenges our understanding of the possibilities of existence.
Jack, go.
There's a real freedom. Okay, check please.
Check.